can't marry your half-brother. The consanguinity is Latin for with blood, so people you're related to. And then the second half were people who can't enter into a legal contract. And the final one was, you cannot marry an idiot. And of course, that's a legal term, right? It's somebody with an IQ below a certain amount, because they don't understand what a contract is. There's no way you convince them they know what a contract is. So Jennifer and I are at the counter, and we look at this, and Jennifer says, well, that's my out. A couple of years from now, I'll say, Your Honor, I didn't realize I was marrying an idiot. And I said, gee, Your Honor, you're right, I must have been an idiot to marry her. So, the clerk looked at us and said, are you sure you want to sign that? Well, it's paid for, we might as well. So anyway, I'm sorry, even the idiot clause won't work for you to get out of the marriage. Okay, who performs the sacrament of marriage? And this is interesting. The priest gives a blessing, but who actually performs the exchange of those, of the blessing of the vows?
Is it not?
Well, no. Well, God is the one who actually blesses the. But who?
The bride and groom.
The bride and groom perform the sacrament by the public affirmation of their vows. Okay, this is clearly close to home for you two, right? You're the ones who actually perform the sacrament when you get married. The rings are a sign of the sacrament, but the sacrament is the exchange of your vows. Okay, holy orders, Elaine.
The ordering or ordination of men to serve as bishops, priests, or deacons, to serve and represent Christ in a unique, set apart way, provided by Christ for the sacramental life of the Church. A man is changed by grace at ordination and remains changed for life. The orders are a bishop, who is the successor to the apostles, a priest or elder representing the bishop and Christ in parishes, a deacon, a servant ministering to souls and bodies.
Okay, there are three orders. The bishop represents the apostle. It is considered the highest order. The running joke is those who want to be a bishop deserve what they get. I know many bishops on a very personal level, and it is a thankless cross that they bear. And it's one that is full of blessings and joys as well. But it's certainly not something, anybody who aspires to it is asking for trouble. No, I do not want to be a bishop, thank you very much. I don't look that good in purple to start with, and so anyway, black is much more slimming, much more black. Priest is the word elder, or comes from the word presbytoi, which is Greek for elder. Bishop, the word bishop, comes from a derivation of the word for episkopoi, which is Greek for bishop. And what does episkopoi sound like?
Episcopal.
Episcopal. The official original title of our church was the Protestant Episcopal Church of the United States of America, which means we were the Protestant church with bishops, compared to those Protestant churches that didn't have valid bishops, or bishops at all. So we are a church that has apostolic orders. And then the deacon, the ministry and Acts of the Apostles, where the apostles realized that they were spending a lot of time mediating disputes and distributing alms and serving tables, and not having enough time to preach the gospel and to administer the sacraments. And so they picked men of good repute, 7 men, and ordained them deacons, one of which was St. Stephen, the first martyr. So you do have that order of deacons. The diaconate has been revived in the Anglican Church and in the Roman Church. There are people who are what we call permanent or perpetual deacons or vocational deacons. They really feel called to the servant ministry. For many, many years, hundreds of years, the diaconate only existed as one of the steps to ordination to the priesthood. Father Fraser and I were both ordained deacons first before we became priests. The idea that we have the charism of the diaconal ministry as well as the charism of the priestly ministry. So we can't be all high and mighty. We are called to serve tables, to wash the feet of the poor, to be servants, to care for others, not just to preach and to administer sacraments. And then, of course, that a bishop has worked his way through all of the orders as well. Yes, sir?
What's the difference between a priest and a vocational deacon? Is that like being a lay minister?
Yeah, well, and it's somewhere in between a lay ministry. A deacon usually has a ministry, which basically has the anointing, the imprimatur of the church to be performing. They would have the altar, certainly at worship. They would set the table. Some of you may have noticed that some of what Father Fraser did before he was ordained a priest last year, when he was here for about a month and change, before he was made a priest, he did things like read the gospel. A deacon does that. He administered the chalice. brought the communion to the sick. Now, some of these are things that other people, as lay people, can do as well. And set the table for communion. I would step off to the side and he would set the table. Again, a diaconal ministry. Once he was in priest orders, then we certainly were just doing the same things back and forth. But people generally have a particular vocational ministry that they're called to. They may run a soup kitchen. They may be involved in hospital ministry. Things like that. It's certainly a deacon. There are not very many people who are deacons who do it as a full-time job. Most of the deacons have another paid position, and their ministry is a secondary work that they're doing, and usually not for finances. Okay, and final one. What did I leave off? Ian.
Anointing of the sick. Outward spiritual sign of the healing power of God. Extreme unction. Anointing in time of death.
This is a very good change after Vatican II in the Roman Church. And a lot of older Roman Catholics never get beyond this. My grandmother, God rest her soul, every time my grandpa had a heart attack, which was about every 6 months or so, and he was great because he had his first heart attack, so he stopped smoking cigars and started smoking Pall Malls. Then he had his second heart attack and he stopped smoking Pall Malls and he went to Marlboro Reds. Kind of worked his way down after age of 6, 7. And every time my grandmother would say, "Oh, the priest came in and gave him last rites." Well, most likely what they did was they gave him unction. They just anointed the sick. But most older Roman Catholics, their only experience, the church began to move away from the healing ministry as an active participation in the life of the church and reserved it to that moment of death, that extreme unction. So most people know what last rites are, most Roman Catholics, and Episcopalians as well. And the actual regular anointing of sickness has been lost in the wash. It has been revived since Vatican II in the Roman Church, and certainly been revived in the Anglican Church. Remember the Epistle of St. James says, "Are any of you sick? Call the elders and have them pray for you and anoint you with oil." And that's the biblical basis for it. If you run into me and I'm in street clothes, and you say, "Father, I've been having these migraines, or I'm going in for surgery tomorrow," I'm going to reach in my pocket and I'm going to pull this out. This is my holy oil. Bishop Keith Ackerman, God bless him, the man who ordained me, set the example. He said there should never be a time that you are out and around where you aren't available to anoint the sick. And so you should always carry a holy oil stock with you. It's just a piece of metal, it's got a cotton ball in there, and inside is soaked with holy oil that's been blessed by a bishop to be used for anointing the sick. Who can tell me what kind of oil this is? You want to take a guess?
It's virgin olive oil?
It's just virgin olive oil. That's all it is. The bishop, they take a big bottle of olive oil and the bishop prays over it. And now there are other oils like chrism and things like that have some spices in them that give them a different smell. But this is just a blessed olive oil for anointing the sick. And it is certainly a very active part of this parish. If you're sick, you're in the hospital, if you have surgery coming up on a Sunday, let the priests know. They will anoint you for sickness. On Wednesdays after Holy Communion, we have anointing of the sick. We have parishioners who are dealing with long-term physical issues who come to St. John's on Wednesday for that Mass in order to be anointed for continuing strength and God's assurance of blessing. Did everybody receive a physical blessing every time? Not everybody. And again, I don't know why God works that way. Does everybody receive a spiritual one? Absolutely. And it's a wonderful, tangible reminder that God is present and active in our lives, even in our sickness. That He doesn't leave us or abandon us in a time of our sickness. Well, I said this would be a short class, and I guess I lied. I got a little too talky on confession. So anyway, I want to, we'll close then, and next week we'll do chapter 6, which I believe is the Holy Scriptures, right? 'Cause you did